Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides. For the latest updates, information, and picks, you can follow me on Twitter at Professor Sides. This Major League Baseball episode covers every game scheduled to be played on Wednesday, September 21st, 2022. In case you're new here, I built a mathematical model for win probability using hitter and pitcher projections I've created. And a side note, made a little bit of an adjustment to those pitcher projections today. Kind of noticed it felt like I was a little bit overreacting to certain results. And I kind of always want to slow that down, take a more broader view of things. So there's just a few tweaks in that. Also did some cleaning up of the pitcher projections. There were a few relievers that had snuck in there. So you'll see just a couple of changes. In general, most things stayed roughly the same. There were a couple of pitchers that moved around a lot. But for the most part, the guys at the top, a lot of their numbers kind of dropped a little bit, but it's not really a huge change. It's just making sure that those guys are already really good. So if they all kind of drop 3 or 4 points, it doesn't change much. But the point being, these pitcher projections and all the projections, always tweaking them. That's what I do as a statistician, is just try to constantly look at things, make things better, never want to overreact, but always trying to make things better every single time I mess with anything. Never want to get stale with that. And these projections get me to a win probability. Made a slight tweak to that as well. A lot here happened, I'm telling you, early in the episode. I had noticed some of the better offenses just wasn't coming through in the win probability. So added a little bit of a quadratic to that instead of a linear approach, just to get those top-tiered offenses just to tail up a little bit and give a little bit more value. We saw it here Monday and Tuesday, both with the Astros, right? One of the better offenses in the league, exceeding their expectations. We've seen it all year with the Dodgers. On occasion, we see it with a team like the Blue Jays or the Yankees when they're at full strength. The model underestimates them a little bit. So again, just trying to tweak that up a little bit so that the model, which has already done really well on the whole and on most teams, just does a little bit better. Always trying to make things better. This allows me to make one money line pick or one line pick on every game that's played 7 days a week, though there are no Sunday shows. I always say, do what you want with these picks. All of them, some of them, none of them. Take what you like and leave the rest. My goals in this episode are share key information about the games, give you a few things I think on, explain why certain plays are being made in order for you to come up with picks that you are comfortable with. I never recommend blindly tailing or fading any pick, but rather to hear the justifications and thought processes to make sure you're fully on board with me or against me before investing your hard-earned money. And as I go through my plays, remember that there are no locks in gambling. So it'll give you our loves, likes, and leans to indicate my confidence level with respect to scaling wagers. As always, please remember that good and bad variance will occur. So as much as I'd like to see it will be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Monday was okay. Tuesday down. So we're in a little bit of a hole this week that we have to climb out of. We've been able to mostly do that for the last many weeks. The changes that I talked about at the top of the show were things I was already working on, independent of how Tuesday's games went. It feels like we're right around on a couple of these, just barely missing with some one-run losses, just some frustrating type things. It's felt like we're right there, and that's hopefully some of these changes will kind of get us from the last couple of weeks. It's felt like it's been right there, but it just hasn't been able to get over the top. And so I'm hoping a couple of these tweaks can get us from hanging in there, a little up, little down, to really putting us more consistently over the top like we were more like a month ago. As I'm always saying, though, if the down stretches are this break-even type run we've had over the last couple weeks, that's not a bad thing, knowing that we had the good stretch before that. So hopefully these tweaks can get us back to some of those good stretches that we had. But before we get to today's game, some quick reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you are yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free, and if you turn notifications on, then you won't miss any of the college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. Check out Horse Racing Today if you like to play the ponies. You can find their stuff at horseracingtoday.net. It's our team at 5 with over 125 years of combined experience in handicapping horse races. There's an angle they don't know or bias they can't identify. Check out their YouTube shows or the website. Links are in the description. And lastly, a reminder, we've started up a Patreon page for those of you looking to support the show. Membership starts at just $3 per month. Benefits include things like exclusive access to the play of the day, our Discord group where we're just chatting about, sometimes for fun, some just about the game, sometimes chat about line movements and different things that we like. It's a fun place to hang out. It's just kind of a big group chat if you're not familiar with it. You can also get some ad-free and early access to the shows, as well as early access to the projected spreads. Hopefully a lot of benefits there that you find interesting. On this Wednesday here, we will have 2 afternoon games. There will also be night games getting going here at 12:20 Eastern. It'll be the Nats and the Braves. Took a chance on the Nats here on Tuesday, and they hung in there despite Corbin not going more than an inning, coming out due to injury. Relievers did solid. Great plus odds. If you had plus odds on the run line, then you profit on that. Took the money line. Didn't work out, but run line would have. Kind of like we're talking about, that was just the Braves just being overpriced in a game where they had a pitcher edge, but it wasn't a huge one. And the way the injury turned out, I don't know. It was kind of a weird situation. But the Nats hung in there, just couldn't quite get it done for us. This afternoon game with the Nats and Braves, I mean, it should be all Braves again, but they were able to cover the run line for us on Monday when we had that very great play. But if you took them on the run line on Tuesday, it didn't work out. If you back them, I think you kind of got to look that way because the price will be really high. Model says it should be minus 330. Massive pitching discrepancy here. Max Fried, one of the better pitchers in baseball. Josiah Gray, well below average. Not much to say about both these guys. I mean, Gray's got a rating of 110, Fried of 73. And that's about all there is to say. There's no smoke and mirrors here. Both of their ERAs are pretty representative. One of these guys is really good and one of them isn't. Obviously, the Braves relievers are better. The Braves offense is better. It should be all Braves. Again, model says minus 330, but it's all about the price. If it's minus 400 on the Braves, that's just too much. And again, you start thinking about taking a chance on the Nats, or you take a plus 1.5 or a plus 2.5 or something like that, whatever floats your boat. If we can get a price like minus 300, then that's something that's a whole lot more exciting and something I'm interested in. So it just kind of depends on what price we can get. Weather-wise, mid-80s to start, warming up to about 90 degrees by finish. Relatively warm afternoon in Atlanta. Winds will stay mostly around 2 miles an hour, so pretty nothingness, with regards to the winds. But model says the total should be 8. Doesn't really expect the Nats to score a lot. Another one of those situations where if you like an over, you can play a Braves team total over. You're going to have to pay a price for it, but they should score a lot of runs. And if you like an under, play on that Nats team total under, you're having to pay the premium for it, but they shouldn't score that many runs off of Fried, especially given just how much of a mismatch this is from Fried versus the Nats offense and then the Braves offense versus Josiah Gray. So those are just some different ways you can look there. Again, model says total should be 8, and it should be Braves minus 330. Make a pick on Twitter and in the Google Sheet sometime closer to first pitch. The other afternoon game, 2:10 Eastern, Mets at the Brewers. This one should be around 70 degrees for most of it, so I'm projecting they open the roof. Whether it's open or closed is not really a big deal with regards to total. Model says 8.2. Actual total is 8.5. It's not really an under that I would touch. This Braves offense, this Brewers offense, as we talk about, is so hit or miss. They're so reliant on the home run ball. Walker's an above-average pitcher, but the Brewers can hit a few home runs off of him. And then A.J. Hauser going for the Brewers is a guy I just don't trust at all right now. So the Mets could easily put up a handful of crooked numbers on him, getting that Brewers bullpen that's worked a lot lately. I'm on the Mets here at minus 121. It's a B-grade pick. I think they're worth a look, even though it's just a B-grade. I do think it's worth adding to your portfolio. It's not my favorite edge of the day. But I like Walker more than Hauser. I like the Mets relievers more than the Brewers relievers. I like the Mets offense more than the Brewers offense. This isn't that big of a price. So, I like the Mets here at minus 121. Model says it should be minus 125. But just when you think about the bullpen situation and how much they've been taxed, how much they're probably going to be taxed again here with Hauser going, I think the Brewers don't have enough relievers to get it done here. So I like the Mets at the short price of minus 121. So night games, Cubs at the Marlins, 6:40 Eastern. Just a quick reminder, we don't want to overreact to one game or two games. Cubs look terrible on Monday as we backed them. I told you, I said, hey, it doesn't necessarily mean anything's bad for Tuesday. Went back to the well, and the Cubs got it done for us. So just a reminder, a team can look really bad one day, and there's a reason why in baseball they say momentum is only as good as the next day starting pitcher. Momentum, honestly, even if that wasn't for that, doesn't translate day to day in baseball. You have good teams and you have bad teams, and good teams tend to perform good, bad teams tend to perform bad. In this situation, both teams are bad, so they both tend to perform bad, which means maybe a little extra variability, and that's what we saw. What we see sometimes with these teams from night to night. No line yet on this one. The pitchers have not been confirmed, but the model, I plugged in a pair of lefties, Drew Smiley and Jesus Luzardo, assuming it is these two pitchers. Got a pretty big edge for the Marlins pitching-wise. Smiley's just average. He's had good results. It's a little smoke and mirrors, as the underlying metrics say his ERA should be about a full run higher than it is, whereas Luzardo's been a solid pitcher. As we talked about with him before, he does have 1 out of every 4 or 5 starts where he just gets lit up. This Cubs offense, probably not the one to do it. Not to say it can't happen, but he should be able to have a pretty solid start. I'd like to back the Marlins here if I could. Model says minus 134. Obviously around 130. I think it's definitely worth a play. In the low 120s, it would be an A-grade pick for me. So that's what I'd like to do. But obviously, if the Marlins are something like plus 150 or plus 160, we're not going to force it. We're going to look to back the Cubs in the run line just like we did on the first 2 days of this series. So it just depends on the price. Again, we'll figure something out on that later on. Model says the total should be 7.8 in that one. 6:40 Eastern, first pitch, Astros at the Rays. Talking about not overreacting. This Astros team is really good. And again, one of the reasons I've been making some model tweaks to kind of give the offense the respect they deserve. As even against a pitcher as good as McClanahan, they were able to get to him. In this one, though, I think this is a coin toss game. The Astros have a starting pitcher edge with McCullers, but it's not that big. The ERAs between these two pitchers are 2 runs apart, but the advanced metrics are basically the same for these two guys. Now, of course, for McCullers, it's only 6 games, but he's had some good starts. He's had some rough starts. It's not that I don't fully trust McCullers as an Astros fan. I just think I don't have him right now. I don't see him as the pitcher he was last year just yet. That doesn't mean he can't round into that form by the playoffs. As a fan, I hope that happens. But right now, he's just a little bit up and down. And not to say this Rays offense isn't up and down as well. It projects above average, but they go through stretches where they don't score. Obviously, they don't score a lot in that ballpark, being one of the 2 top pitcher-friendly ballparks in baseball. But they go through stretches where even if it's a run-deflating environment, in this series so far, they should have scored more than 0 runs. So that offense is a little up and down. McCullers is a little up and down. He could have another shutout tonight, and the Rays could go all 3 games here to start the series off without any runs. I wouldn't be that shocked, especially in that park. But on the other hand, the Rays could easily come out and get to McCullers. He's been tending to allow a lot of base runners, and in that situation, it just takes 1 bases clearing double, and all of a sudden they got a 3 spot. In that park, with a pitcher like Kluber, who's just average but solid enough, 3 runs might get it done. 3 runs would probably get it done for us on the run line. That's my play here. Minus 167 on the Rays run line. It's an A-grade pick. I just think this is a coin toss game, so I think this is really good odds for a coin toss low-scoring game on the run line here. You can take a chance on the money line at plus 115. I think that's worth a look. I don't know what happens to this. The Astros looked really impressive in the first 2 games, but I can tell you that there is 0 backing statistically if you say, well, the Astros won the first 2 games of the series, thus blank. That doesn't mean the Rays are going to come back and win. It doesn't mean the Astros are going to sweep. It has very little bearing. This Astros team is good, and they're better than the Rays, but they're on the road. And at some point, I think the price of Astros minus 125, minus 130, I just think it's a little bit too high. I think it's Rays or pass, and if you say this Astros team is too good and you don't want to fade them, I think passing is a good decision. I think the run line makes a lot of sense, though. Total is 7. And the model says 7.1, so if just so few runs, a run line play here at these odds, I just think makes a lot of sense. For a Rays team that's still pretty good, despite the fact that they're, of course, playing a really good team themselves in the Astros. 6:40 Eastern, first pitch, Red Sox at the Reds. Red Sox getting it done for us here on Tuesday night with the A-grade play. Again, I can't say enough good things about Bello. I feel like he's a really good pitcher, and people just don't realize that he's pretty solid at this point. He's got that inflated ERA. I don't know what else there's to say about it. No line on this one. We're projecting Michael Wacha and Chase Anderson. Wacha's solid, not as good as that ERA, but still an above-average pitcher. Chase Anderson is a guy I love to fade, one of the worst pitchers in the starting pitcher database, 6.43 ERA, and it may be not that bad, but it's not that good either. Massive edge here for the Red Sox in the starting pitcher department. A little bit of an edge with the relievers. Not that the Red Sox relievers are great, but they're a little better than the Reds relievers. Obviously, the Red Sox have a much better offense. So this should be all Red Sox. Model says Red Sox minus 199. So if it starts with a 1, I'm good with it on the Red Sox. You could look to play the run line. The projected total in this game is 10. It's going to start off around 90 degrees in Cincinnati, and 90 degrees in that ballpark can really make for some hitter-friendly conditions. It's still going to close in the low 80s, so pretty hitter-friendly conditions in a pretty hitter-friendly ballpark. It's going to feel more like a summer game than a September game here tonight in Cincinnati. So definitely a situation where I don't think you're going to be able to get over 9, but if for some reason it opens up, it's these two pitchers, and you can get over 9, lock that in and run. Even over 9.5, I don't think it's a bad play in that park with these conditions. Wind-wise, will be blowing kind of a cross, maybe something to check on closer to first pitch. At the start of the game, it's going to be close to 10 miles an hour, and it might be blowing a little bit out to left field. Might be blowing more across, though. Depending on which way that goes, that could boost your expected run total easily by another quarter run, half run, something like that. So we can just really hit our friendly conditions. Waka should be able to hold the Reds down a little bit, but in those conditions, the Reds still should score something. The Red Sox bullpen probably gives up something. I mean, the Reds probably can get 3 or 4 runs themselves. I think the Red Sox could probably put up a 6 spot on this one. I would like the Red Sox to win. Obviously, though, it's all about the price. Again, starts with a 1. I'm on the Red Sox. Maybe look run line just because I think there's going to be a lot of runs. If the price is too high, at some point you take a chance on the Reds. Obviously, all just depends on the price, though. 6:45 Eastern start time, Blue Jays at the Phillies. 2 teams that played a football game on Tuesday, 18-11. Phillies with that 2-point conversion to get them within 7. Just going to get the onside kick there in the 9th, I suppose. A wild one there on Tuesday. Not expecting the same thing on Wednesdays. The total on this one is 8. Model says 8.3. A pair of fantastic pitchers going in Kevin Gausman and Zach Wheeler. Gausman's probably better than that 3.45 ERA. His interline metrics say it should be more in the mid-2s. Fantastic pitcher. The advanced metrics love him. Wheeler, on the other hand, 3.07 ERA. That's not smoke and mirrors. He is really good. The caveat with him is we don't really know exactly how deep he's going to go. Noah Syndergaard's going to piggyback behind him. And so given that we already know that, you don't know exactly how many innings, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be more than maybe 3-4 innings, max of 5 if everything goes perfect. But he's not going to be given the full leash to go deep into this one. Now, Syndergaard still projects to be above average, but he's still a drop-off from Zach Wheeler. Here's the thing, though. When we think about these type of situations, if Wheeler can get through 4 innings, say, that's probably maybe optimistic, but if he can get through 4 innings, knowing that the Phillies have some decent relievers, he's not going to be asked to throw innings 5 through 8. He'd probably only be asked to throw innings 5 and 6, 5, 6, 7 maybe. You're basically telling a guy who's been a starter his whole career, and obviously at most of his career hasn't been a guy who's going 9 innings, but you're telling him to go as hard as he can one time through the lineup. That makes him a lot better, right? Starters are, in general, starters are better than relievers. The only exceptions to that are the relievers who turned out to be closers who only have 2 pitches, but they're amazing pitches, or maybe a 3rd pitch. Very rare do we see anything otherwise from the great relievers. The benefit to the starters is that they've got multiple pitches to really keep you off balance. Well, most starters, again, a few guys aside, but most starters, the way they utilize that is by not showing all their pitches the first time through, maybe even the second time through. So you still got something to show them the 3rd time through to really keep them off balance. That's the way you get through a lineup 3 times. For Syndergaard here, it's not, he gets a boost because he's not going to have to do that. He can throw everything at him that first time, or at least the second time, and not hold anything back. That's going to make him a little bit better. So it's not that I love what he offers at this point, but it's a decent spot for him to come behind him. So it is a drop off from Wheeler to Syndergaard, but I can see a situation where, again, Wheeler goes 4, Syndergaard goes 2, 3, and all of a sudden it turns out to be a pretty good start because the guys are able to use their pitches a little bit more liberally than if they were saying we had to go 8 innings. So all that to say, I think it's not a bad spot for the Phillies, but I don't really like laying odds with the Phillies here against a really good, like I talked about, mostly overpriced, but still really good Blue Jays team with Kevin Gausman throwing. So it's only a C-grade pick for me on the Phillies at -112. Model says it should be -112, but I'm not really getting excited about this Phillies play unless it's a 1-0 something. Really, 105 would be a much more exciting play. If I get even money on the Phillies, we're really excited about it at that point. But at -112, I back the Phillies, but it's just not a great investment. It's not that poorly priced right now, so it's only a C-grade pick for me in this one. Again, Phillies have probably better relievers than the Blue Jays. Offense probably lags a little or it's pretty close. Phillies are at home. It's just there's enough uncertainty with the starting pitcher situation for the Phillies. As much as it can go well, it's obviously not as good as just Kevin Gausman, who's a fantastic pitcher. So again, I'll back the Phillies at home. I just want a better price before I invest more in it than I have right now. 7:05 Eastern start time, Tigers at the Orioles. Got an A-grade winner on the Tigers. Told you yesterday is one of the biggest discrepancies I saw all day. Money line play there would have paid off if you put a little bit on that. Wednesday, it'll be around 80 degrees for most of this game. Wind's blowing out 5 to 10 miles an hour. Matt Manning and Jordan Lyles, a pair of fairly average pitchers, both relievers a little above average. Of course, the big discrepancy here is the fact that the Orioles have a competent offense and the Tigers don't. Obviously, game in Baltimore gives them a little boost. Model says this game is priced really well. Model says it should be Orioles minus 156, and that's about how it's set up when you add the juice in. I'll take the better team here at home with the Orioles, but minus 163 is not a valuable play. In the 150s, I'm a little bit more excited about it. Minus 140s, but minus 163. I'll back the Orioles, but it's just not a great investment with regard to the value that it offers. That's why it's only a C-grade pick. Again, a pretty well-priced game, pretty well-priced total. Model says 8.1, actual total is 8. So I think the odds makers have nailed this one. Maybe by the time you watch this or later on in the day, you can shop around, you can see a different price, and maybe there's an edge. But right now, until it moves off of that, I don't think it's really the most valuable game to invest in on the evening. 7:05 Eastern. First pitch, Pirates at the Yankees. Pirates getting it done for us on the run line, but my goodness, a 4-1 lead in the ninth, and they somehow still lose the game. Like I'm always saying, those Pirates relievers, you can always count on them to give up some runs. There's a reason they rate so poorly, according to the model. Obviously, big edges everywhere again for the Yankees here on this one. I still don't think this is a fully healthy Yankees team. It's a much better looking Yankees team than we saw a week and a half, whatever it was ago. This Yankees offense at least now projects to be back above average. There was a stretch there where it was projecting around average based off all the bodies they had on the IL. The relievers are now projecting above average. So it doesn't look like it's a fully healthy Yankees team, but it's getting a lot better. The issue is I think they're a little bit overpriced here. Again, as much as I think they have an edge in every facet of this game and they're home, it's just hard to justify a price like minus 300. We saw what happened here on Tuesday night. Easily could have lost that game, probably should have lost that game. It could easily be a similar story here on Wednesday where it's a tight ball game. I'm going to go back to the run line at plus 1.5 here, plus 120 odds. It's a B-grade pick. I think there's a little bit of value on this. Again, the run line, road team at plus odds makes a lot of sense. My issue with this not being an A grade is the Yankees are just a good team. And again, they've got just such good edges everywhere in this game. It's hard to be more confident in that. Although, like I said, I like the plus 120 odds on the run line. Model says this should be Yankees minus 245. So again, it's Pirates or pass. A price like Yankees minus 300. It's not a smart play by itself. It's not a smart play in a parlay. It doesn't mean they don't win. It just means it's the type of play that if we're making it night in and night out, it's not going to win at a high enough clip for us to be profitable in the long run. So price like plus 260 or so on the Pirates might be worth the flyer. Like I said, I'm just going to stick to the run line at work for us on Tuesday. I'm going to go back to it here on Wednesday. Contreras, probably not as good as that 3.24 ERA. I think he's closer to league average. Severino, of course, an above average pitcher. Not sure exactly how deep he's going to be able to go in this one. But again, the Yankees relievers starting to get a little bit healthier. Should offset that if you're a Yankees fan. Total in this one's 8. Model says 8.2. 8:05 Eastern, first pitch, Angels at the Rangers. A weird one. I tweeted about this. Just a weird situation, one of the rare cases where nobody seemed to notice, I guess, for quite a long time that Mayers pitched in relief the day before. And so he was listed as a pitcher. That was plugged into the model. It's what we talked about. That's why I like the Rangers at that price, thinking it's just a wash with regards to basically everything in that game. And then when he's scratched and they go to Sandoval, all of a sudden now the Angels have a better pitcher. Usually when a pitcher gets scratched, it goes to a worse pitcher. But one out of every 10-ish games, something like that happens, and it didn't work out. I reposted a model, said the Angels should definitely be road favorites, and they pulled it out. So it didn't work out for us, where the probability that the Rangers win that game shifted like 10 percentage points, going from a below-average pitcher like Mayers to a pretty good one in Sandoval. What are you going to do? Hopefully you didn't see, by the time you saw this, you knew about the pitching change and weren't on the Rangers at that point. I am on the Rangers, though, again tonight. Hopefully nothing crazy like that happens again here. But I'll be on the Rangers here at an 8 o'clock Eastern start. Tucker Davidson and Dane Dunning, a Rangers pitcher edge. I have really no faith in Tucker Davidson. He's got an ERA almost at 7. The advanced metrics say maybe it's not that bad, but it's still pretty bad. Dunning is just an average pitcher. His ERA is pretty accurate in the mid-4s, but an average pitcher is a whole lot better than Tucker Davidson. Reliever, talked about this yesterday. Relievers and offense is all about the same. It's pretty much a wash. You got the Rangers at home with a better starting pitcher. I'm going to lay the minus 142 with the B-grade pick model, so it should be minus 146. If I could get this in the mid-minus 130s, we're talking about an A grade, but at this point, it's just not a good enough price just yet. But I do think the Rangers are worth a look. I think they get this done at home. And again, I just like the fact that we've got a pitcher edge at home and the Angels have no edge in this game. As, you know, maybe you could say an edge like their top 2 hitters are better than the Rangers' top 2 hitters, but A, it's not by much. And B, then we say the Rangers, you know, 4th and 5th best hitters are better than the Angels' 4th and 5th best hitters. It's all a wash with regards to these 2 lineups, these 2 relievers. There's nothing to write home about with the relievers. The offenses are both top heavy. Give me Dane Dunning over Tucker Davidson at a price that's not too steep here on the Rangers. B-grade pick for me there. Game with a total of 8.5. Model says 8.7. 8-10 Eastern, first pitch, Twins at the Royals. Mid-70s in Kansas City, around 70 degrees to close. A little cold front coming through. Opposite situation from Friday night. From Tuesday night. Told you all 8.5 was out there. Loved the over 8.5. It got to 9. If you took over 9, which I said I was still fine, at least you pushed. Different situation here is that was warm and the winds were blowing out. And we knew we'd have at least 9 runs by the 6th inning. We had 9 runs by the 6th inning. Different situation with cooler temperatures and the winds blowing in at 10 to 15 miles an hour as the fronts come through here. So a completely different story. Not 2 great pitchers, but all of a sudden now the model projects a total of 7.9. The actual total is 8. So they've at least read the weather correctly on this one. Bailey Ober and Daniel Lynch, both very average pitchers. ERA-wise, there's a bit of a discrepancy, even underlying metrics-wise, but it's only in 8 games for Bailey Ober. He's had a good 8 games, 3.49 ERA, but using historical data, you know, I don't think he can quite keep up with that pace. He has to show me a little bit more before I start projecting that to be the reality. I say he's a little better than Lynch. Not by much. Model gives Bailey a 99 rating and Lynch a 103. So a little bit better, but not by a ton. Lynch, more of an average pitcher as the advanced metrics. His ERA should be in the mid-4s. Obviously, the Twins relievers better, Twins offense better. On the road, though, give me the Twins at minus 138. Model says it should be minus 134, so not a lot of value on this one, but I'll take the better team. It's just hard to back a road favorite when they don't have a huge starting pitcher edge. If you have more faith in Bailey Ober and what he's done in 38 innings this year, then you probably like the minus 138 a little bit better than I do. I'm just not convinced yet. I do think he's better than Lynch, but it's very, very small. Biggest key here is that the Twins relievers are better. So that's, you know, if we get to the bullpens quickly, that could play into it. Royals offense tends to hit the ball fairly well at home. We saw that here on Tuesday night. So I'll take the Twins, but the price is just too high to get that excited about. Again, 138. Run 130, I'm a lot more excited about it in the 120s, but 138, I'll back the Twins, but only with a C grade. 8-10 Eastern, first pitch. In a wonky night in baseball, still count on the Guardians. Got it done for us on Tuesday night. I'm backing them here with an A-grade pick on Wednesday at plus 112. I think it's a coin toss game here. I think Lynn is the better pitcher than Tristan McKenzie, but this Guardians team has been winning all season long, overperforming the metrics. This White Sox team has been underperforming the metrics. I know the White Sox are at home, and again, I think that Lynn is the better pitcher, but the Guardians offense, I think, is better than this White Sox offense, righty on righty. You know, again, White Sox facing the lefty, probably a little bit different of a story. This Guardians offense is a little bit better. I love these Guardians relievers. And again, the Guardians have been getting it done for us. I think it's a coin toss game. I don't think Lynn is that much better than McKenzie. ERA-wise, McKenzie's had a better season, but underlying metrics-wise, Lynn's got him beat by about a half a run. So again, I do think Lynn is the better pitcher. I just think that the Guardians at plus 112 offers tremendous value. It's an A-grade pick for me on them. Again, I think it's a straight coin toss game. You can take run line. The price is really steep there, and so I'm just going to say coin toss game, give me the plus odds. Let's see how it goes. A-grade pick for me on the Guardians here on this Wednesday night. Total this one 7.5. Model says 7.7. Assuming we don't see crazy extra inning shenanigans, I think we won't see quite as many runs here on Wednesday as we did on Tuesday. 8:40 Eastern, first pitch, Giants at the Rockies. I hate the Rockies. I can't back them and win. I can't fade them and win. It's other than the Rockies and the Diamondbacks are the two teams that this is happening with. Every other team I've either just done well on or done mediocre on, or if I've done bad in one thing, I've done well in the other, done okay in the other. It's just been like there's maybe a little bias and it just, fades them a little too much or a little, backs them a little too much, something like that. And it's a little bit easier to deal with those like, oh, the model's just a little bit under on this team. And it is what it is. We try to take advantage of that, and the model's right, 6 out of 10 times, and that's what leads us to, slow and steady profits. The Rockies and the Diamondbacks, and it's just random. There's always a team like this, but it's just the teams that we just can't zig and zag correctly with. There's nothing about specific pitchers, home road, backing, fading. It's just they don't want to cooperate. Thought we had a good spot with the Rockies here on Tuesday against the Giants bullpen game. Giants bullpen game in Coors, and yet they actually pitched perfectly fine. So I don't know. I'll be back on the Rockies again here tonight at plus 120. It's a favorable matchup in the starting pitching department for the Giants with Logan Webb versus German Marquez. Relievers, though, is kind of a wash. The model actually says the Rockies relievers are a little bit better than the Giants relievers. You wouldn't have known that here from what we've seen in this series, but again, that's just a really small sample size. Obviously, the Giants' bats are better than the Rockies' bats, but they hit really well at home. Again, one of the strongest home field advantages. Even though it hasn't worked trying to back the Rockies here at home, they've uncharacteristically won a couple games this weekend on the road and lost a couple at home. So I'm just going to stick with what we know to be true from a data standpoint and back the Rockies to say that plus 120 is too high of a price. Model says it should be Giants minus 109. Webb's a really good pitcher. Y'all know I've touted him and like backing him. 3.02 ERA, underlying metrics say that's pretty accurate, but German Marquez is not that far behind him. He does have an inflated ERA. He struggled at the start of the season, and it's inflated because of course. The underlying metrics for him say his ERA should be much lower. So Webb's a better pitcher, but it's not by a ton. And again, when you consider the massive home field advantage the Rockies have, I think this is like coin toss game slight edge Giants. So plus 120 offers some value here on the Rockies. It's a B grade play for me. Not high enough plus odds to get really excited, but enough that I think it's worth a flyer. In a game in Coors, you feel like half the time you never know what's going to happen there. So given that we don't really know what's going to happen, the Giants tend to have a better home field, I think plus odds make sense. It's not like the starting pitcher edge is massive for the Giants. And if it does get into the relievers, again, I think maybe slight edge Rockies just because those Giants relievers I just don't think are very good this year. Total in this game is 10. Model says 8.5. It's going to be a chilly night in Denver, and the wind's going to be blowing in at 5 to 10 miles an hour, around 60 degrees for most of this game. So the ball's going to fly there because of the altitude, but it's not going to like super fly there like it normally does. It's going to be a little bit more muted. So the like normal like routine fly balls that get out at Coors, especially if the wind's blowing out or it's hot, those are going to be like warning track fly balls now instead of home runs. So model thinks go under 10. Obviously, unders are scary in Coors, but you got two above average starting pitchers. So I tend to agree that 10's a little bit too high for this. Model says it should be 9. Weather-wise, it sets up. Again, a lot of variability with Coors. You never exactly know, but weather-wise, I agree with the idea that 10 is too many runs. And again, two solid starting pitchers. 9:40 Eastern, first pitch, Cardinals at the Padres. Cardinals letting us down here on Tuesday night. Miles Michaelis here on Wednesday versus Blake Snell. I like the way that Snell's been pitching lately. I'm going to back him at minus 118. The model says this game is priced really well. Model says minus 112. That's pretty smack in the middle of where it's being priced at right now. So since it's no real mathematical edge, I'll just take the pitcher who I like the way he's been performing lately. Snell's been pretty good for most of the season that he's pitched. The underlying metrics for him this year are almost a full run more favorable than Michaelis. So give me the starting pitcher edge with Snell and the home team. Offensively and reliever-wise, the model thinks it's pretty much a wash. I think minus 118 is a little steeper than I'd like to pay, but I still think the Padres are a decent side to back. Maybe they're starting to kind of figure it out. We always assumed they would. It just took way longer after the break than anybody expected. There's a chance they're starting to put it together, and they're a really good team. So back to Padres at minus 118. I wish it was a better price. If it's minus 110, that's more of a B grade. Closer to even money would be a fantastic play. I don't think we're ever going to get that. But I'll back the Padres here as their favorite. I think they should be favored. And it's not too steep of a price. It's just not a price that I'm really excited about. So C-grade play for me on the Padres here. Weather-wise, around 70 degrees on this one. Winds be blowing in at around 10 miles an hour. Total, this one's 8. Model says 7.2. So an under spot here with the wind blowing in. 2 good offenses, but also 2 above-average starting pitchers. Michaelis is a good pitcher. Snell, very good. So 2 good starting pitchers. Model rates both these bullpens above average, and the wind blowing in, pitcher-friendly ballpark. Model thinks 8's too many despite how good these offenses are, so it would go under 8 in that one as a stronger play than the Padres minus 118 is. 9:40 Eastern first pitch. Mariners at the A's. Another chilly one in Oakland. Around 65 degrees to start, around 60 degrees to close. Winds will be blowing out to start like normally, but at the end of the night actually blowing across, more or less, though, just kind of a standard night in Oakland where we don't expect a ton of runs. Didn't see a ton of runs on Tuesday. Unfortunately, the wrong team got the majority of them, but I'm back on the Mariners tonight. It's a massive pitching discrepancy with Robbie Ray and James Kaprielian, and it doesn't mean that something like Tuesday night can't happen. That's why I always say there's no locks in gambling. But I think minus 201s is a pretty good price on the Mariners here, as I just like Ray so much more than Kaprielian. Underlying metrics say he's about a 1.5 per 9 better. Obviously, the Mariners relievers are better. Mariners offense is better. Again, no locks in gambling, but at minus 201, I think the Mariners are a great play. Model says it should be minus 233, since they win this 70% of the time. And if you're winning a minus 200 play 70% of the time, it's profitable in the long run. So I'm always saying you got to play a little bit of favorites, a little bit of dogs. If you take your dogs on the run line, you're doing the same concept, right? It's like playing dogs in football or basketball where you take the points. Got to mix it up. Should be on both. Shouldn't always be on one or the other. Sometimes dogs have value. Sometimes favorites have value. I think the Mariners have value here. Didn't get it done for us Tuesday, but I think they get it done for us here Wednesday. As like I said, I like Ray a whole lot more than Kaprielian. Total, this one's 7. Model says 6.8, so it's an under. I'd be comfortable going. Total, I'd be comfortable going under at 7, not at 6.5 though. And then to wrap us up, Diamondbacks and Dodgers got that split that I was hoping for with the Diamondbacks. If you played run line in both of them on the Diamondbacks, you actually won both of them. But as we saw with the Dodgers here, resting a couple players, generally just overpriced, kind of coming to fruition here on Tuesday. I'm actually going to be on the Dodgers run line, though, on Wednesday. This is all about the starting pitchers. Dustin May is a much better starting pitcher than Bumgarner. He's been a little up and down in his 5 starts, but you saw the last start out. The stuff's there for him for sure. Diamondbacks offense still, as much as it's improved, as they've made some call-ups, it's still a below-average offense. And I just have zero faith right now in Madison Bumgarner. I think last start he had a decent start, but it was his first decent start. It seems like in 6 or 7. I think this Dodgers offense is really good and can get to Bumgarner. Like I said, I don't think he's got a lot left in the tank at this point in the season with all the wear and tear on his arm. Massive pitching edge here for the Dodgers. Obviously, their relievers and offense is better. And right now, the model says Dodgers minus 261, and it offers no value on either side. And so typically, given how much the model's faded the Dodgers, if it says there's no value, I tend to look at the Dodgers because when we have the opportunity to play them, we want to. Lost our last time we played on the Dodgers, but it had won the previous 14 or something crazy like that before that. So I'm on the Dodgers here. Minus 285 is just too steep for me, so I'm going to go on the run line at minus 137. It's not that steep of a price. I think it's worth a look, but there's just not a lot of value back in the home team at these odds, so it's only a C-grade pick. It could get ugly, so I think it's okay to back the home team. But given what we saw Tuesday, where the Dodgers won one of the games by 1 and lost the other one outright, I think we just can't be too confident the Dodgers are going to go out there and really try to win every single game, given that they're not playing for a whole lot right now. So I'll back the Dodgers, but since they might not really have that same, desire every single game to go out there and get every victory as convincingly as they can, since that's not necessarily there, I just want to temper my wager on them. But in general, like I said, I still think it's worth a look, given the massive starting pitcher edge with Dustin May against Madison Bumgarner, because this game could get ugly. It should be 5-0 by the time we get to like the 3rd inning. And at that point, the run line isn't a lock, but it should make us feel pretty good. So it's a C-grade pick for me here. Minus 137 is just a little too steep to love. Low minus 130s, especially in the minus 120s, that would be more of a B grade here. So I think that would offer a little bit more value on this Dodgers run line. So 3 games that do not have lines as of yet. Check Twitter and the Google Sheet. I'll update those closer to late morning on Wednesday. Otherwise, right now, for now, I have 3 A picks. And again, depending on how lines move, I may add some more, and there may be an A pick. Again, check Twitter in the sheet for that. May be an added A pick on top of some of these later on. But for right now, I've got 3. I've got the Rays run line at -167 at home against the Astros. I've got the Guardians at +112 at the White Sox. And then I've got the Mariners -201 at the Athletics. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Picks with the Professor. Check out the website if you haven't yet. It's www.pickswiththeprofessor.com. Don't forget to subscribe so you can ensure all the sports betting content we provide on this channel is dropped right into your feed. We'll see you tomorrow for more Major League betting picks. Got college football content dropping all week as well. As always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.